This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. And you're listening to the Krypton Report.
Look up in the sky, the birds, the planes.
Why did you add the book to it? Because even in the darkest time, hope cuts through. Hope is the light that lifts us out of darkness. Hope, my friend.
Yes, sir. Hope.
Even
hope
for some
and hope is what we have to have these days.
We gotta get through this as a.
Yeah, I posted and shared that, and my sister told me she cried reading it. And she loved that I incorporated Superman with it.
Good.
And Alura's being a freaking nutball back here. So
She is a nutball.
sorry
But
we
we
gotta
gotta
go.
bring people together, man. And I know a lot of people who are hurting right now, and it's interesting times. That's all I'm gonna say. Like interesting times.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. We are all on the same page, but that's not what we're here for.
nope, we're gonna
You
love
know?
each other.
Yep.
Love.
Support
That's what we
and
do.
love, that's what we got, you know? Support, love, hope. And yeah.
Dangles on a string, like slow spinning redemption. But anyways, I'm Tyler, the Superman of Blue. Welcome to the Krypton Report. This is Silent James. Welcome, Silent James.
Hey,
See?
yeah.
You're not supposed to talk, Silent James. He's getting over pain people. But welcome. We
I
got
had
a
a
little bit of
tooth
news.
pulled yesterday, so fun times.
We got a little bit of news, not much. But first things first, this ugly figure from McFarlane Page Punchers of the Superman 78. This thing seriously looks like they took the Christopher Reeve head and the top part of the torso and then made an ugly bottom. And was like, we'll sell half the good figure.
Yeah, it's like a comic shaded figure, and put that head on the actual 78 body, and it's great.
That's what I'm saying. I thought they just took like leftover pieces and just shoved it together as a Franken figure. It is fugly. And I don't use that beautiful word lightly.
I mean, it looks more like Reeve than the 78 figure, I think, but other than that, the rest of it is hideous.
Yeah.
It doesn't need that. It doesn't need the added shading just to look like it's got the shadow off of the cover of the book.
I know. So today I went driving with Solomon, and we had like a 40-some minute drive back home. And he's been wanting to watch Superman and Lois, the new season. So I just put it on my phone and hooked it to the car speaker and let him watch it as we drove home. And like we got home like 2 minutes after it ended, and he's like, "Dad, I'm crying." I'm like, "I told you this season is sad at the beginning, son."
Yeah, it is.
So we're only one episode into our rewatch.
Makes you cry like 4 episodes in a row.
I know. As far as news, the only other thing that I have really is I've seen no confirmed reports, so don't take this with a grain of salt, but talks about Barry Keoghan, or how you say his last name, Joker from Matt Reeves, is potentially going to have a series much like the Penguin. And I've heard a couple people say, or a couple things respond that what do you call it? It is supposed to take place like between the Batman 2 and 3.
Right.
And I'm like, that's cool. I would hope that if they do that, that it's also going to work as like telling the backstory of how he got into Arkham. And maybe my theory that he had fallen in the acid and that's why his skin was all junked the way it was. And maybe he's healing, because I don't know if I want to watch, a whole miniseries with him looking as defunctated as he is.
Right.
It would be interesting, but it's one of those things that if that is what we get, it won't be
Right.
until after the Batman 2. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So
And I mean, I wouldn't mind watching a series of the Joker very much in the vein of like your Azzarello Joker, like an evil, horrible character. You know what I mean? Like an extremely mature show in that regard.
but I don't know if I could hold the show that long with that intense of like an evil character, because the Joker, you're not supposed to, like with Penguin, you have empathy, you have some sympathy, but even though he's evil at times and you're like, oh my gosh, in the whole world, with the Joker, you're never really supposed to have those type of
Yeah.
feelings.
I mean, the Penguin in the Penguin in the show, I mean, he's awful. He's a terrible person. He just has some sympathetic things like that surround him, but he is still an evil person.
Right.
You know?
I mean, but I don't know if you could do that with a whole Joker series now.
Oh yeah, it'd be
know.
total chaos.
But like I said, I don't want to see a whole like series with defunctated Joker. You'd have to like give me maybe an episode with him all messed up, and then kind of you got to bounce around in time, you know, show before and then whatever's going on now, make him a little bit more easy to look at.
Right. I mean, it's got to be a better Joker show than the last movie we got, right?
Bro.
Dude, that freaking how it should have ended was way better than that movie. I wish that was the movie we got. It was a fantastic movie.
My buddy
that's it.
Matt,
it was not a Joker.
My buddy Matt Wood, who played the Joker for like 30 seconds in my really, fan film I made 12 years ago, that's on my YouTube, is more enjoyable to watch as the Joker and that little bit that he's in it than fully ado.
Yeah. And I still stand by it. I mean, actually, I will bring my I would bring my official grade down, because if I'm going to rate it on like Letterbox as like a 2.5 or a 3, I can't in all right say that it was a B. I did really enjoy it. I do think it was a really good movie, but it was not. We all know what it wasn't. So I graded it on what it was, but I still think because I hadn't put it on my Letterbox then at that time, but then I put it on the Letterbox and I was like, well, if I'm only going to give it this, I forget what I gave it, 2.5 or a 3. So if I'm only going to give it this, the best I can give it is a C.
Well, all I'm saying is I didn't have expectations, and it still let me down. But hey, we passed that. All right. So that's really all I had for news. There really hasn't been much. Did you read? Did you get a chance to check out this puppy that was released?
I did.
So did I. So we'll do a whole huge really review, but let's just talk about it in general. What did you think? I mean, you can say whatever you want, but just touching on it a little bit. And for those who aren't watching, that's Absolute Superman #1.
Yes, we put the cover up on the screen.
Yeah,
but yeah, Absolute Superman #1. I mean, it was interesting. It is a #1, and it has a lot of story to tell. It was I thought it was very interesting. I did like the change to Krypton. It wasn't so different, but it was. The Science League being like the head group of the planet, the leaders of the planet. And Jor-El being Jor-El, who was going to be a member of the Science League, who got shunned to be a laborer. How the crests, how the Superman, the crest we know, the shield, is the mark of a laborer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a low class, which is very different than what we know, because the House of El crest was one of the most renowned crests on Krypton. The House of El, Jor-El being one of the most scientifically brilliant minds on the planet. Same with Lara.
I'm liking what I got out of the first issue, because I feel like there's enough of the foundation of the character there without feeling too departed.
Yeah.
Exactly everything you're saying about Krypton. Like, they're still scientists in a way, but not in the way that we're used to. So that works for me. I'm curious to see more as it goes on about him. I will say that I've read the 3 absolute books for the Trinity. And if I was going to rank them from what I liked to what I disliked, or not even from my favorite to my least favorite, it would be in reverse order. Like, Superman's my top, Wonder Woman's my second, and Absolute Batman's my least. And I hate saying that because I love Scott Snyder as a writer. But I read Absolute Batman, and I was like, okay. Like, I wasn't hooked. I wasn't like cheering it on. I was just like, okay.
Yeah, I haven't read Absolute Batman yet. I actually did read the I started on the free stuff, and that was the first one I read because it was just the first one in line, pretty much. And it was too short.
Batman
it was too short to get any. It is, yes.
But I mean, I'm going to continue to read the series. I feel like to really get a grasp of these new characters, it'll probably be a good couple of issues. That's kind of why we're trying to wait a little bit to see if we'll get one more Absolute Superman, Batman, and Wonder before we start talking about the Absolute stuff.
Yeah.
Later
we did get a sense of Superman being Superman in this world, because the first half of the issue takes place all on Krypton, and then the second half of the issue takes place it was in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
in a mine where they're supposed to be mining diamonds, and like it snows asbestos and things. Like, it's pretty harsh, like it's terrible, and he goes in there and does this to protect the miners and get the job done.
It's rad.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And then the Peacemakers.
That was cool. The idea, like the
Lazarus Company.
Yeah, the Peacemaker. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, there's some very interesting stuff in this book. And I really can't wait to read it again when it drops on the app and follow as it goes. You know, and the one large splash page that we get of Superman as he's like being initially attacked. I like the suit. I like the crest. And I'm digging the no cape so far.
Yeah, it is a little weird, but it wasn't
the first issue.
Yeah. And like I said, I think we'll have a better sense of the book, I think, once the first arc is complete.
Right. And there was there was something about him, his power level. Like,
yeah, so he was charging solar radiation because he was down in that mine and everything for a while. So like he was low on his solar energy.
Yeah, so his body, like, I don't know how long he's been here or like how his body metabolizes energy. But yeah, he doesn't seem to store as much energy or be as strong as we know him. to be. But we get a Agent Lois and Central Kansas being like a desert land, and then like a Brainiac tease in this issue.
The Brainiac tease was interesting. Okay, so that's Absolute Superman #1. Highly recommend everyone go out and buy it. Let's get a Superman book that sells, and it's a great jumping on point for the character. It feels like the character.
Well, where we kind of end it in this issue is Cal is much older on Krypton.
Yes,
he wasn't sent to Earth as a baby. He's, in this image, like maybe 10 years old, give or take John's age when we kind of met him.
Yeah, I would say he's a few years old.
Yeah.
So
yeah, really interesting. Can't wait to see where this new Superman book goes.
And I want to give a shout out to our friend Levi, who found one of the Superman Walmart exclusives, McFarlane figures, for me, and was able to ship it to me because I haven't been able to find it anywhere. So
which one's that?
Levi. Hold on. This one. Oh, where's my camera? With the cloth cape.
With the cloth cape? Which one? Which Superman is that?
Just
can't really tell on the screen.
Yeah, I know. These I'm gonna send you the direct pic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it just a
I haven't done my unboxing video for it yet because the kids want to get back to doing some unboxing videos, so we're gonna film some stuff. But yes, thank you, Levi. Now it's time to sing along. We're gonna do Superman and Wonder Woman Volume 4. And of course, my iPod is nowhere to be found because I have children who didn't have school today. Because, why would they go to school? Like, James, why? Why kids even go to school?
Well, mine didn't go to school because it was parent-teacher conferences. So
that's why they're all out of school, basically. My kids didn't have school because the parent-teacher conferences and there was like an in-service training for the elementary teachers. So I was like, oh, okay. And then they have a 4-day weekend. They have a 4-day weekend, and thanks to Memorial Day. But crazy is there's only 5 volumes of this. So, but the synopsis is the all-star creative team of Peter J. Tomasi and Doug Mahnke continue the chronicle of the world's most powerful couple. Superman, deprived of most of his power and outed to the world as mild-mannered reporter Clark Kent, is in trouble. Someone is targeting his human friends in hometown. Lana Lang has disappeared. The Kent family home has vanished, and graves have been desecrated within Smallville. With Wonder Woman at his side, Superman flies home to investigate. Frustrated with Wonder Woman's growing vigilance over his weakened state, Superman leaves her behind in an effort to protect her when he realizes that whoever is targeting his friends and family might soon move on her. But it's Wonder Woman who discovers the key to unlocking the mysteries plaguing Smallville as an imprisoned Lois Lane. Collect Superman Wonder Woman 18 through 24. All right, James, what did you think of this?
So for the most part, I enjoyed the trade. For the most of the trade, it was a self-contained story.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was all chapters of a story. Until the last, 2 issues. Which actually was still connected to the story that came in the beginning of the trade, the first 4 issues. but
Yeah.
we do know that those other issues tie into the Vandal Savage storyline that we read in Superman and Action in those final issues there, in those final trades there. But I thought it was really good. The introduction of the Suicide Squad in here. When they first show up, I remember that look, this screen grab of them in the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
The Deadshot shooting Superman with his custom-made high-velocity rounds and things, which actually penetrated Superman's skin. Superman is Superman in this part of in this part of his adventure in the New 52, being depowered is very emotional, especially when it comes to his friends and family being in danger because of his weakened state.
Mm-hmm. The book opens with like Wonder Woman basically saying, no harm will come to you as my love while I draw breath. It's them laying in bed and she's like holding him, and it's his weakened state. And he gets a call from Lana Big Red that she has in her phone. And Wonder Woman, this is when she has her new suit, like, and she's the god of war, and she flies him, to Smallville. And this is when he's outed and everything like you were talking about, and we see what's been done to the farm. And we see like he had, what I thought was interesting was the idea that he had like his own little fortress of solitude, like bunker that he created where he'd go and hide. He confronts the president and there's Steve Trevor. And
it was his grandfather's bomb shelter, but he would use it as like fortress of solitude.
I thought was interesting is we have him confront with the president, and they don't trust Superman because everyone thinks he's a liar for not telling them he had a secret identity, which I think is complete bullcrap. As far as like the way people are treating him. But while Superman's negotiating to get everyone released, Wonder Woman's actually breaking in, and Superman battles Parasite because somebody released Parasite against him being there. Wonder who that could be. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Well, we eventually find out who that was, and
it's the guy who's the head of like a department with the president's actually one of Vandal Savage's kids.
Yeah. I think they called him Best.
Yeah.
Was his last name. Used Parasite as like a contingency, and then he gets fired from his position.
And then they use Parasite as a way of tracking Firestorm, which I think is pretty cool. And they team up. But then one of the biggest things that gets revealed after Superman frees him, like the way Perry White treats Clark is really, really mean.
Yeah.
And demeaning to him. And they're fighting like servants of Black Hole. Like they just open their mouths and like.
Yeah, they absorb a lot of energy. So it's like Superman's energy is being absorbed by lots of different people, lots of different conspiracies, things like that. It's interesting though, because like he goes to meet the president, and Steve Trevor tells Wonder Woman where she can find his friends and how to get him out. So she goes to do that. They voluntarily according to Superman, but under duress, use the lasso of truth to speak to the government, speak to the CCTVs. They took a lot of people. Like they took Jimmy, they took Pete Perry, they took people from Smallville,
Steel,
Lana. They took his elementary school teacher or his high school teacher, Cat Grant. Nobody's happy with it. I do like when Lois is under her wrapped up. She keeps calling him a moron. She's like, I report the news, idiot. Again, see definition of reporter, moron. She's asking stupid questions. He really is.
I like when Lana punches Lois in the face. We get Clark goes to the watchtower and basically takes out the Flash to get a ship to try to fly into the sun, trying to power himself up. But then Clark says these immortal worlds as Wonder Woman shows up to save him. I don't know if I love you anymore. And then they have this like weird reconciliation where they're at the moment putting aside their relationship to be a team because they're teammates first. And just the whole, like, I really was digging them as a couple. And then this whole, like, I don't know if I love you anymore thing is interesting.
Yeah. We did have some, I mean, throughout the series, they've had some butting heads, but it's ups and downs, but it's been like strife causing tension between them. You know, they were together when he was changed into Super Doomed and he was leaving the planet. But what I do like here in this whole thing is they're having their discussion. You know, they're trying to find the black hole people, and she says, "You do know I'm coming with you," and he said, "We just went through this," and she butts in and says, "No matter what's going on between us at the moment, we are league teammates first and foremost, and always will be. Understood?" Like,
yes,
she knows her job, she knows her role, and you know, whether she's with him or not, she's going to do that.
And that's what I find interesting. And I find their dynamic interesting because of everything you just said about like with strife and them overcoming things. Then of course we know what's going to happen soon. And I feel like in a lot of ways it's because he's very inadequate in himself right now, not being able to be as strong and powerful, and he feels weak and unable to protect the people he loves, even though Wonder Woman is highly capable of protecting herself.
Yeah. And that is something that he does say is the only way we can do this. The only way we can do this is if you are not worried about me. You have to trust me to still be Superman. And you can't do what you need to do if you are always got one eye over your shoulder trying to protect me.
So, and then we have
a Parasite out of a prison transport.
Yes. And like I said, when they work with him to find Firestorm, they're met with a machine that basically hooks up Wonder Woman as like its power. And Superman has to fight to get her out of there. And Parasite is overloaded, of course, because that's how you stop Parasite. But then the great speech of Clark, where is it? Power or no power, you're still Superman. Damn it. And he like hulks it out of there, man. And gets her out. And of course they just basically Vandal Savage his son. Hold on, my computer reloaded because the website never likes to work. Where Vandal Savage kills his own son because he failed him.
Yeah.
And that's how the book ends, basically. You're just like, holy shit.
Yeah, right. Well, Yeah, so what his son is trying to do is gain enough power. His son's been alive for like 600 years. Really a blink of the 50,000 years that Vandal Savage has been alive.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been alive for about 600 years, and he is saying that he is going to absorb all this power that he's collected, use Firestorm to transmute that power into him, and absorb his power. And he turns into a kind of a black hole himself, and Superman jumps him and Parasite through the black hole, which is like a sudden unexpected power surge that throws everything off. And they take him down, and yeah, he's put in prison. Vandal Savage shows up. His plan was to kill Vandal Savage with all of his newfound power, Vandal Savage's place.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I was ready to give you a piece of the world, and still you felt the need to betray me. You had your thousands of years watching civilizations rise and fall. It was my time now. All you had to do was step aside, pass the baton to the next generation. But you couldn't because you're a selfish, power-hungry bastard. He says, we are meat eaters, boy, and your problem is you became a vegetarian. And that is the last time disrespectful words will slip past your tongue. And I thought he was just ripping out his tongue. And I think he reached down his mouth and ripped out his heart.
Yeah.
Like, freaking brutal, man.
That's beyond brutal.
Then we get a little quick, at the end, we get a quick issue of what happened with Superman before he went to the sun. I don't know why we got another issue of this, but it was more of Superman and Flash's point of view on the Justice League, on the Watchtower satellite, where Superman sucker punches Barry because it's the only way he wouldn't see it coming. And he takes the ship, flies to the sun, where we get a misquoted we get a misquote here, because she said, shut up, my love, close your eyes and just kiss me. He says, Diana, I don't love you anymore. And that's not how it went down initially in that book. It says, I don't think I'm in love with you anymore.
Right.
I don't love you anymore. So somebody screwed up. Editorial screwed up there.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, the book was basically a trade, as it should be.
Yeah.
And that's good. Because I was thinking after I read it, I was like, well, that's good. But, it's still like little pieces here or there that connect to a larger story. This is kind of how you would see it. Normally, you would see those hints at it, But the other trades that we read, where you get this chapter and that chapter and this chapter, every other chapter, every third chapter, it's a pain in the ass to read the New 52 in trades like this. This is where you have to collect the stories and read the stories, the story arcs,
Yeah. So our experiment has been fun.
It has. It's been interesting. Because, like I said, when I initially read through these books in the New 52, when DC Universe first started, I was reading a book until I got to the event. And then I would read the event up to a certain point, like a certain chapter. Mm-hmm. So you would read, say it started in Superman, and then and then the next chapter was Action. So I went back and I read all of Action till I got to the event, and I read that issue. Say the next chapter was Superman and Wonder Woman. I went back and I read all of Superman and Wonder Woman until I hit that issue. So I got all of the information from each book to get through that. I didn't just read the whole story arc without getting context from the rest of the series.
So what we're hearing is James Cole is perfect when it comes to reading, everybody.
No, certainly not.
Follow James's example.
So reading it this way is very interesting.
Let's all be like James. But now it comes time, everyone, for that next part that we were looking forward to. Yeah. Superman Lois.
SNL, y'all.
So it's like, I can't believe we're on the back half, man. Like,
I know, episode 6, right? 4 more episodes. That's all we got.
I know. I mean, we still got 4 more episodes. It's just like, that's it. You know, it's like, it's been so good. And this show's been a very interesting way of presenting material. Yeah, dude, okay. I don't know what to do, but we're gonna be sad when it's over. All right, so Luther plans to move Luther Corp to
I hope it
Smallville.
goes on a big high, though.
Yeah, I do too. Opposition in Lana. Sarah faces a difficult decision. Clark confronts Luther face to face when the lights come on. Season 4, episode 6. Oh man, James.
Yeah,
This episode was great.
It was. It was great. I mean, I know the last episode had a minor slowdown, but
I didn't mind it though. Like I needed it.
No, yeah. It was a heavy emotional. We started off. First 4 episodes made you cry. Every single one of them.
You know, the episode kicks off with Luther yelling and tearing up his room, and it's all black. And we get this this episode all in general had some really interesting music choices. Like the songs and stuff they used. I was kind of like, I didn't know if I agreed with all of them, but
yeah, I'm not sure what the cucking stool was all about.
Yeah.
And that popped up twice in this episode.
We actually see him burning all of his stuff from Elizabeth. So like he is done. Like his picture, everything he had, he set it on fire. And we hear the name Milton again.
Yes, we do.
And
multiple times.
He's moving his HQ to Smallville. So new Luther Corp headquarters in Smallville.
Yes.
Which is a nice way of mirroring a lot of the stuff that we had in season 1 with Morgan Edge coming to the town and what the town needed and everything. So just kind of throwing that out there.
Right.
We do keep hearing about John as Superboy, and we get a really cool shot though of Smallville kind of waking up for their day. You know, like the bread being baked and like the milk delivery kind of type stuff you'd see in old movies, you know.
Right.
It was really it was cool. I like that. And what I like is we have this, one of my favorite scenes in this episode is we have John's up and like doing like a gajillion saves. And he comes back and everybody's like, hey, you should calm down. And he's like, no. And he like darts out like, pff. And then they go to say something to Jordan. He's like, what? Pff. And he takes off. And Clark's like, yep, that is getting old.
Yeah. So John says, let's go eat at Vicky Mays. And he says, I'll race you. And he just takes off. And then they're like, you know, you might not be doing the superhero thing right now, but that doesn't mean you can stay in the house and play video games all day long. And he's almost not having it. And Jordan takes off and Clark's like, yeah, that's getting old. And I don't blame him. You know, I mean, yeah, Clark could catch up, but if I was Lois, I'd be like, no, we got a new rule. You don't get to super speed out.
Yeah. I feel like at this point, okay, we're not really seeing Clark doing a lot of Supermaning. You know, it's a lot of John doing stuff. I really think John should have a suit and be wearing something. Even if he's still wearing the goggles and everything, like he needs to have some sort of identity, because Superman's not out there.
He did give him the suit and everything. We don't actually get to see John making any saves. We only get to see
like
images from
but
the
it's
internet,
still
video
just
from far.
it's just a black jacket and goggles. Like he needs a suit that has the emblem. This would be an interesting time to do a throwback to Smallville's leather jacket. Like if you wanted to, like that should have been like the unofficial Superboy suit for them right now. Of like if they're just gonna wear this leather jacket, it has an embossed family crest symbol on it. But he
Right.
needs a proper suit to let people know since Superman's not actually out there. We do get a line from Lana that says John left for Metropolis. And we get, I don't know if we've got this before, but Otis's last name in this is Grisham.
Yeah.
Did you see? I kind of liked it when it was Otis Graves on Supergirl. Like the idea that him and Mercy are brother and sister, I thought was neat.
Right. Well, we don't have Mercy in this. We have Amanda. And Otis was just somebody that Lex Luthor got out of jail because he served time with him.
Yep. And he's using him. Amanda, whose loyalty got Lex Luthor through prison.
Yes.
All right. And one of the best things in this episode for you and I as men approaching an older age is the fact that Clark is graying. And it makes him so uncomfortable that he goes and buys hair dye.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if it was just self-consciousness on his part, but he did say that he doesn't think it's, that Superman should be showing up gray either.
And Janine was picking on me this whole time about this because I'm self-conscious about my hair because, like, just to put it in perspective, okay? When I was 14 years old, started putting color and experimenting with color in my hair. Okay. Like I was in different rock bands and everything. I played out live music and everything. So I always had color in my hair. Then I just started dyeing my hair by the time I was 15, 16, just jet black. And I had that till about 2 or 3 years ago. Jania finally begged me to stop coloring my hair. And like at first it was just, I stopped coloring the sides and just did the top and everything, and then I stopped completely. And it's just been so weird for me because I was so used to my hair being black, and like I don't play in a band right now, but like it was part of my look and aesthetic. That it's been like a self-conscious thing for me. It just feels weird. And Janio was like, I like the salt and pepper look. I like the way it looks. So like the whole scene when Lois is telling Clark that and he feels unconscious, I'm like, I get this, dude. I understand you. Because the thing is, like, I had colored my hair for so long that when I stopped, my hair had more gray in it than I realized it with mixed with my natural hair. So it was like, that's what I look like now.
Right.
So
so gray appears early in my dad's side of the family. So I started graying in my 20s. And when I started graying, I just had the gray on the sides. I had the Kingdom Come look, the Doctor Strange look, just that's what I had. And it was dark hair. I've always been dark hair, but I started getting the gray on the sides, and I was never too concerned with my hair graying. I said, whatever, I'll go gray as long as I don't go bald.
Yeah, I was there too. I was that. Which, my maternal grandfather had hair. It eventually went white, which I think would be pretty dope actually to have like straight white hair.
Right.
And my paternal grandfather was bald, and that's where my brother's going. So
but about 5 years ago or so, I started using the wash-in, the wash-in in Rogaine shampoo and beard wash, and it was darkening. It was starting to darken brown and everything like that, and it was just looking that way, and I stopped using that, and now it's 5 years later, and I mean, everything's almost gray. I've just got this nice little brown chin strap.
Who knew that this whole podcast would be about going gray and accepting your hair color, people, and just being who you are? And
I did love when she was walking away, though, and she's like, "Don't worry about your hair." And he was looking in the mirror, and then he's just like, "I'm not."
You know, he makes the statement, he's like, I never thought I would get old, or at least not for a while. And it's cool because it's a different way of approaching the characters. He talks about not being as powerful and slowed down and everything. We get a scene of Lana basically throwing Lex out of her office because Lex just showed up and wouldn't leave even though Lana wasn't in her office. We get a reference to this Earth's John Henry because Lex talks about knowing a person that worked for him that made the security stuff just like that. So that comes up later as Lex is able to disarm Lana's security system that John Henry put in.
Yeah, which pretty much leads you to believe that Lex Luthor was responsible for killing this Earth's John Henry.
I feel like John might have got mixed between the feud between Mannheim and Luthor.
Yeah,
that's kind of where I'm.
Yeah, because I'm not sure if we got that before. If we got a verification on like who killed this Earth's John Henry.
Yeah.
I haven't rewatched all of the seasons before starting this.
I'm almost
the finale.
I'm almost done with my rewatch of season 1. I just haven't had the time. Now that spooky season's over, I have this nice little period right now. I caught up with some shows before we start watching Christmas stuff, so I can try to squeeze some stuff in. What do you call it? We have Clark checking out at the store, and it's Denise that was ringing him up. And you can kind of see this. She knows that Clark's not really paying attention, but she knows, like, oh my gosh, it's Superman, Mr. Kent, you know?
Yeah.
It's cute.
I think Clark notices. You hear him listening, and he can hear her elevated heart rate.
Yeah.
Because he's there buying groceries from her.
But it's not till later, I think, that he starts to pick up on what it really is, as Lana asks Clark to go with him to the woman who's selling the farm to Luthor.
80.
Yeah.
Her name's 80. Yeah.
And she's talking to him, and then he goes, Clark to Lana's like, do you get the feeling she knows who I really am?
Yeah.
And then I love the scene where they're in the bar, and she's turning down Luthor's offer, and he offers her 5 times more money for the property.
Yeah. Well, he offered her 5 times more the value of the property, which is why she was selling.
Yeah.
And then when Lana comes to convince her not to, and she asks Clark, is he real? Because she says that Lois even said he didn't kill those people.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that he'd maybe not have killed those people, but he's done other horrible things, and he's probably killed other people. And she asks Clark if he's really that bad. And she goes off of Clark's word to not sell the farm.
And then he later offers her. Yeah.
Yeah, he offers her $10 million and $10 million to everyone in the bar.
Yeah, everyone in the bar. He's like, $10 million to everyone in the bar. And they still all stand up and say no.
Yeah, I like it how, because the one friend of Chuck's, he's like, it doesn't seem right to me. And then Chuck says he wants it this bad. Something seems off.
Mm-hmm. Now, on a higher note, we have John who's eating a lot while they're at the diner, and Jordan is talking to Sarah because he's trying to get a job there, and Sarah basically, for some reason, is the one in charge of the applications, and tells Jordan no, that he could do anything. Just because he's not superhearing doesn't mean he has to not do anything. He can go anywhere. But then you have the coach show up and ask if they're ready for football season. And Jordan responds, I haven't played in like 2 years.
And Jonathan says, I'm banned from the team.
And he's all like, oh, we can make an exception. He's like, just keep being super. So obviously, he says, we got a real opportunity here.
Yeah, that was very hypocritical and very unethical of him to do.
I think it's going to be like the whole town of Smallville is going to know the truth by the end of this season.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty much making the rounds that everybody in Smallville kind of knows that Clark is Superman and that the boys are his super sons.
Yeah.
So I do like that idea, because that was something kind of floated in the idea of Man of Steel. Like, people in Smallville know that Clark is Superman,
but they never really addressed.
Yeah, but in this one, I do like the idea that, like, this is this small town secret. Maybe keep it.
You gotta love. There's nothing as great as the love of a daughter who just wants her dad.
Yeah. She's getting really good at talking too.
So we have, we learn. So skipping around a little bit, we learn that the coach has requested that Jordan watch Varsity Blues.
Jordan dug it though.
He's like, you like that James Vanderbeek movie?
Right? Jonathan's like, that James Vanderbeek movie? He said it was really good, but still.
Sarah wants to study abroad next year, and they talk about how expensive it's going to be and all this. Her and Lana do. And my first thought was, okay, so that's how we write Sarah out of the show. She's going to study abroad. Because this is the summer, by the way, and they're all wearing jackets. And it's, this is right after July. So, but we get Lana wakes up and we see that the gas is on and the stove is on and everything. She wakes up and there's Otis beating the crap out of Lana. And then it's Sarah who comes to the rescue with a baseball bat and beats Otis. And then, of course, he gets arrested, but Lana is scared. And the Kents show up, and we see that Jonathan was passed out from exhaustion, and Jordan was playing video games. And this is where Jordan kind of realizes that he blames himself a little bit because he could have been listening. He should have known. And this is what kind of helps wake Jordan up to, like, just because I need to be doing something, and it looks like, we're going to have Jordan and Jonathan working together here soon in the future.
Yeah, he told Jonathan said, I wouldn't have to do so much if you were helping me out. And he says, I can't, because when I do stuff, it makes things worse. Then Lana almost dies. Sarah cracks Otis with a bat, which was like, go Sarah. And then the boys blame themselves, and Jordan decides that it's worse, that if he does nothing, it's worse than him doing something.
Exactly. And the whole time Jania is like losing her stuff, like, where there's no mention of Kyle, like the fact that, like, Kyle would be there to protect his daughter, and he still cares about Lana. Like, so there's no mention of, or even John Henry. Like, there's nothing about John Henry. You think John Henry would have been alerted to her home defense system being shut down or something like? But Jania's all pissed, like, what's going on? But who gets pissed, James?
Oh, Clark gets so mad that his friend is crying because she thought she was going to die. Otis is trying to choke the life out of her.
Yeah, they're like, Clark, when you get some water for Lana. And they're like, have you guys seen your dad? We thought he was with you. No. And then we just see the cup of water there. And then there's Clark walking, and he's screaming Luther on the street. And Luther comes out from the hotel and takes a little device that turns all the street lights into red solar lights.
Yep, turns all the lights into red solar lamps. So what he had Milton do was design red solar lamps and somehow get Milton's team to install them down the entire freaking downtown strip of Smallville without anybody knowing.
And I'll go with it. It's cool. But like Jania looks at me, she goes, would that work that fast? I said, look, we're dealing with a depowered Superman who's having issues after being dead and coming back. I'll allow it. I'm like, we're not exactly sure what his new standard is here, so I'll allow it that it's working that fast on him. She's like, acceptable.
Yeah. He says, it's over. He says, we will end you. And that's when he says, and then that's when he switches the lights on, and they get into this big fist fight. And ultimately, Clark ends up coming out on top. He tells him to leave and never come back. And he acts like he put blood in the water, like, oh, I made you stoop to my level, and they see you who you are. And I was like, that's weak sauce even for you, Luther.
I know. I looked at Jania,
that doesn't. Like, I don't think the kids or Lois are really hurting for the fact that Clark just beat your ass in the middle of the street.
He didn't kill him. He didn't almost kill him. Like, if anyone sees that, they're thinking, okay, Clark is defending his friends and family. And but I told Jania, it's like in the scene where the boys show up and they're standing there and like their dad's fighting, the boys could have easily started using their heat vision from a distance, taking out the lamps so that the solar lights would go off. While their dad is punching Luther, he might not realize it, but all of a sudden get his strength back and just be like, bam.
Yeah, right. And level Luther out. I wanted him to frickin' just like grab Luther by the cuffs of his jacket and his shirt and just like lift him up. You know what I mean? Until he turned on those solar lamps.
We get kind of a cut to scene where Sarah's telling the boys that she's going to be leaving and studying abroad, which it's summer, the school year isn't started, but all of a sudden you're going to leave.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, but then the boys are talking about going to the Greek Isles, and Sarah's like, what now, huh? And they both pick her up and they just fly off, which I thought was cute and cool.
Yeah.
Lex left for Metropolis. Amanda, she ends up coming back to Lex, and we see Lex shaving, and then she says, we need to get you a killer suit.
Stitching.
Yeah, he was stitching himself. And she's like, we need to get you a killer suit. She's like, you're going about this the wrong way. So now she's all in. I still think Lex will betray her and something, because we saw how he just betrays everybody because he's so blind by his obsession. And like you said at the start, only 4 more, man. Only 4 more.
Yeah. Well, so I think we passed over it a little bit. They're talking about Otis Grisham, and then they're trying to find out who Miss Suit is. That she doesn't have a job title. So Lois goes to question her and ask her what she's doing because she's showing Bash where the new headquarters are supposed to be.
She's like, what exactly do you do?
Yeah, what do you do? What's your, you know what I mean? What's your job and everything? And she's the one who lets it loose, like, Elizabeth wanted Lex to be in her life, but he couldn't get over his revenge and his obsession with me and let Elizabeth walk out on him. And that's when Amanda says, she gets mad and says, I've been running this company for 10 years. And he's like, and you made millions. And she says, I earned every penny. And she tells him what happened. And he says, you're going to have to choose, them or me. And she walks away. And then this is where she returns to him, says she chooses Lex, and she always will. And that's when she says, you're going about this all wrong, and that you need a killer suit. And that's that's what we end on as the camera pans away from Luthor Corp, where you get the big L on the top of the building shaped like a giant L at the top. And we cut to our Superman logo before the credits.
And this is there's not been one episode that I have complained about. I have enjoyed every one that I think. I just feel like this season has been really good and focused.
Absolutely. I think they knew what they had to do going in, being the final season. And I think they're staying really focused on it. I do appreciate how much I think they've done a good job, and I think they turned it around at the right moment for Jordan. You know, Jordan not wanting to do the super stuff, things like that. Him talking to John, the things happening, stuff he should be able to be, and then him deciding, like, I do need to start using my powers. I have the ability to save people's lives, and I have to use my powers. I have to help John. I have to help my friends. I have to help my family. Because other shows, they would have drugged that out for 13 episodes. We got like 3 or 4.
That is one thing that they've done with him is that they bring just enough of the teen angst drama, like the stuff between him and Lois. And then they fix it just at the right amount of time to allow his character to grow without dragging it out like you said they would have in any other show. Oh, there's Jania Reed's special coming up in 2025. That just popped up. So yeah, that is our episode. Check it out. Let us know your thoughts. We were here. Check out our social medias and
Look up in the sky!
Thank you for joining us today on the Krypton Report. We ask you check out our social media. We have a YouTube where we do YouTube specials. You can check out our $1 Patreon, like we talked about, where we do specials. Check the QR code here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on X and all other social media.
I am Brian Peters, the creator and host of Gravely Amusing. For the past 30 years, I've studied the history of gods and monsters in pop culture and our world. As a student of theology and history, I've tried to understand evil and its impact on us. As a writer, I've tried to share this knowledge. As a comedian, I've tried to make people laugh as I do it. But as a man-child, I'm still that scared 7-year-old boy. Join me as I share the history of horror and sci-fi, discuss classic and modern pop culture, and share a creepy story or two. This podcast may scare you, it may horrify you, or it may leave you gravely amused. Listen to Gravely Amusing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever podcasts are found. Follow us on Twitter at gravely_amusing or on TikTok at Gravely Amusing.
We have a $1 Patreon. Yes, I know everyone asks for money, but our $1 Patreon each month gets you commentary tracks for releasing movies, DC movies. It gets you my Requel series where I pitch ideas about movie sequels, prequels, or whatever. It also gets special bonus episodes. So check that out for $1 a month. That's all we ask. Keep it cheap, keep it simple, and help us keep going. Check out the link in the show notes or Patreon Krypton Report.
This is Dan Jurgens. And if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Look up in the sky.
We want to thank you for checking out the Krypton Report podcast, and we ask you to check us out on all of our social media on Twitter X, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Hive, Threads, YouTube. We're everywhere. And if you want to be a guest on the podcast, just send us a message and let us know.
If you are like Tyler and James and can't get enough super talk, check out these other podcasts. Digging for Kryptonite, Supergirl Radio, The Last Sons of Krypton, The Superboy Legacy Podcast, All-Star Superfans, Superman the Animated Podcast, The Aspiring Kryptonians, Always Hold On to Smallville, The Geek of Steel, and Truth, Justice, and Hope.
Tyler here. Hope you're enjoying the podcast today. I just want to talk about another project I've really been working on. It's the Requel. It used to be just part of our Patreon, and we still do Patreon exclusives, but I've really pumped it up, and I've started inviting friends to join me as we pitch movie ideas. I ask everyone if they can go and check it out. It's under Jonathan Tyler Patrick on my YouTube, and go like it, subscribe, and if you want to come on and pitch an idea, come on. Just check it out. It's a fun time.